Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Fighting Chat podcast. Today we're going to be discussing UFC 265, the main card of Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. This is the main card chat. If you want to have a listen to what we've got to say about the prelims, well, by all means, enjoy yourself because we've done a chat on that and all. On to the first fight, right?
Yep.
This is Song Yadong versus TJ Dillashaw. No, sorry, Casey Kenny.
Right, yeah. The post-steroid TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. I thought it was a bit boring, this fight, if I'm honest. Although I do like this Song Yadong. I actually quite like Casey Kenny and all. But it was a bit boring, this fight. I got tired of it after not very long at all. Kenny weren't happy about the decision. He seemed really shocked. Should he have been shocked? Well, what's your thoughts? No? Okay, speak to me about this fight then. Maybe you've got more to offer than I have.
Do I have to? It was a little bit like the Vince Morales-Draco Rodriguez fight. They both fought hard. They're both really good fighters. It just lacked that spark, that intrigue that can make fights exciting. Fights that as we've agreed, of lesser quality can be more exciting just because they've got that little bit of. I just felt, again, like with this fight, they could still be fighting now and it'd still be nip and tuck and no one to be knocked out and no one to be submitted. It just had that kind of feel to it. I just thought Song Yadong had the better, cleaner work throughout the fight. Was just that, a few percent ahead of Kenny throughout the whole fight. I can understand why he maybe is a bit upset because it was close enough to at least think you perhaps should have got something from it, but honestly, I thought it was a pretty obvious Song Yadong decision from where I was sitting.
Fair enough. What about Song Yadong's translator, mate? Chewing gum version. A little kid he had with him doing the translating. He was chewing gum. Remember him?
I remember he had some young for a translator. Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
some little cool guy.
That's right. Yeah, little cool kid chewing gum. Yeah, yeah, he was brilliant.
Yadong he's good, but
well, thanks very much. I appreciate the compliment.
He's lacking that marquee win or that marquee performance, and he's sort of winning or scraping by on a lot of decisions, but he hasn't got that one thing where you go, oh yeah, he's amazing.
Right. So you're saying that he's good, but now it's happening. There's no fanfare going on.
I think he's really good. I think he looks powerful and stuff like that, but he just doesn't seem to rock anybody or knock anybody out, not in his last few performances anyway. 5 of his last 6 fights have all gone to decision. That's fine. I have no problem with people going to decision, especially when you're climbing the ranks and fighting better caliber fighters. Like I say, he's just lacking that sort of standout performance. I imagine the guy who does the highlight reels, he's crying when he finds out that Yadong's on the card. Let's put it like that. So I ain't got anything.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Pull something out of my crack? I ain't got now. So, but I actually think he's really good. He shapes up nice, looks strong, he looks really good. It just, like I say, just not exciting at the moment. That's all.
He's winning, and Casey Kenny's a really top win for him. That I know the Casey Kenny's a new bloke, but he's actually got more fanfare around him than Song Yadong, isn't
he? Mm. Yeah, he's been doing good. Obviously, lost a split decision to Cruz, which is no shame in that. His only other UFC defeat was against Davalishvili, who's Merab, who's
Sarah's mate.
Yeah, who's absolute grief. So yeah, Kenny's good. But yeah, this fight, it was look, honestly, feels a little bit like this chat. Feels like it's sucking the energy out of the room.
It's a bad one. So let's just forget it. It was kind of
boring. So
let's just forget it. There's nothing to say about that fight. So that's it. Let's just not make everyone else bored and tired.
Okay, a nice segue into the next fight.
But listen, mate, you read my mind. That's exactly right. Looking at the next fight, Teacher the Tiny Tornado Torres versus Angela Overkill Hill. 2-0 Torres. See you later. Can we just have no more of this? That's it. Just have done with it. I didn't even know it was 1-0 to start with. What are we having a rematch for? Although I do like Torres, as in I've always said, good martial artist, see she can fight and all that. But it don't matter. I still had to sit through this just so that I don't have to sit through it again, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, again, it just didn't felt a little bit like a sparring session.
Mm, yeah, yeah, good
Um,
comparison.
I think that's probably the worst Angela Hill performance for a while because she's been doing all right and she's picking up a few wins
Yeah,
and
but that's down to
sort of
Torres.
getting her name down. But yeah, partially, but getting her name, sort of in the mix and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, to me, she just didn't throw enough strikes, didn't move in enough with strikes, just sort of let Tisha Torres dictate when the engagements happen, right? Especially when Tisha Torres has got arms at about 3 inches long. You should be dictating the range when the engagements take place, So I think weren't a great performance from Hill. Definitely her worst performance in quite a long time.
Or was it Tisha Torres' best performance?
Oh, well, who knows? But I tell you what, more importantly, who cares? What's the next fight?
Right. Okay. Well, before we get to the next fight,
I actually do think Torres is good, just
so do
to
I.
agree with you earlier, by the way. I think she's
Yeah.
really good. Like, if I saw her in a gym kicking bags, kicking pads, and I'd be like, she's incredible.
Brilliant, brilliant kicks. She's good. There's no doubt about it.
Her fist is a bit. She's got a bit of a bad flinch reflex, and her fist is a
Right.
little not as good as a boot. But let's be honest, that boot is really good. So,
but at this point, before we get to the next fight, there's a John Anik. The UFC stars are out tonight, and a crowd shot of Lauren Murphy, and there's zero crowd cheers, and I mean zero. And I can't deny it. It's a little bit awkward. Felt a little bit sorry for her, and I thought, well, look, maybe I shouldn't feel like that because it could be, even though it's on the main card, just could be a bit of a dry arena, not that many people around. Maybe the monitors are off or something like that. There could be another mitigating circumstance as to why there was literally zero reaction. But then it went straight on to Brandon Moreno, and there was massive cheers. So even the monitors went back.
maybe there was a problem with the mics or something just before.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Look, I get why, right? You can't deny it. If Brad Pitt came on the screen, he's going to get a better reaction than, say, the guy who, runs the Queen Vic in EastEnders. You know what I mean? So it's understandable that some people just get a bigger reaction. It's just like when in America you see those, I don't know, an NFL, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks or whatever they're called, and everyone starts cheering, and I'm just like, who the hell's that mug? You know what I mean?
Never heard of him.
It seems that America's got these sort of like weird, geeky, sort of like Jake Paul style blokes. Yeah. And they come on the screen and everyone cheers. And I'm like, who is that bloke? I mean, shouldn't I know who he is? I mean, I know who Bieber is. I know who Bieber is, but who are all these geeky nerds with all tattoos all over their face? Who are they?
I don't know who they are. I don't know. There's the other one, Trader Truth. He keeps coming up, doesn't he now?
They're the kind of guys I'm talking about. Travis Barker and all these people. Yeah. It's like, but I get why some people will get a bigger crowd reaction. And let's be honest, Moreno's going to get a much bigger crowd reaction than Lauren Murphy.
Well, no, hang on a minute. The way you're talking here, bigger crowd reaction. I said zero. That wasn't me exaggerating. That was just me telling you how it is. That wasn't me trying to be horrible, trying to be nasty. There was zero reaction.
Oh, yeah. Most people looked up at the screen, saw her, and probably thought she was a competition winner or something like that.
Yeah, you win. You won the cage-side seats for the night.
That's it. Yeah, that competition that Dana does. Some people just are more famous than other people, I guess. And like you, there's a little bit of me that's a little bit not feel sorry for her, but it's like it would have been nice if some people, just even a few people, just done a couple of whoops, a couple of Ric Flairs, and you can move on.
Agreed. Smashed their face on the screen, and it gave it the UFC stars, and they went, I don't know about
that. Yeah, sort off, Alec.
Yeah, so it weren't a good one. But on to the next fight then. Now, let's just not mess about here. This is a good one, isn't it? Any fight with Vicente Luque in. I mean, how long have we been going on about this fella? Ages, right?
I'm glad you brought it up. This is what pisses me off, right? Because we're talking about Lauren Murphy a minute ago, right? Not getting the shine that Moreno got.
Yeah. Now I was cheering at home.
What, for Lauren Murphy?
Of course.
I wasn't. I was booing.
Ooh, right. Yeah. Okay.
But we've been saying about Luque for you know, I mean, ridiculous length of
I'm going
of time.
with we saw the potential on Black Zillian's ATT Ultimate Fighter.
Maybe so, but I think we looked at him and went, "Now this guy is a real top fighter." I'm going to have a quick look at his record, and I'm going to say,
We picked him
I
out
mean,
ages
yeah,
ago.
I'm talking like literally a few fights after probably when he beat Bilal Muhammad. You know, like so I'm talking about 5 years ago, 2016.
Telling you,
This guy is mint. I mean, he's one of the best in it, in potential, but obviously we don't get any credit for that because no one listens to this show. Understandably,
correct.
it's a little
And
bit
we
like
weren't
how,
doing this show 5 years ago.
well, that's true. But even if you consider, say that since we have been doing this show, I would say that we've covered these fights, probably against Nico Price, Randy Brown, Woodley, definitely, and
Yeah.
now obviously Chiesa. So we've definitely been covering it for him for at least the last 2 years, I'd say. Year and a half, maybe not that long. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We've known for 5 years he's mint.
He's one of the best.
Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, he's a real contender.
Yes, like they needed to see. Why do they need to see? I don't know, 5-10 fights before they see it. Do they not watch the other fights? Is it just because I've never heard of him? It don't matter. Yeah, we talk about blokes all the time, don't we? And go, look, this guy looks amazing, even if we've the first time we've seen him. You know?
So surely it's the manner of your performances and the manner of how you're fighting that is your potential. Remember, we said Peter Yan. We said he was going to be a real big problem. Yeah. After about his second fight in the UFC, we were like, this guy is going to be a real
exactly. And then Aldo done him and ruined it.
Yeah, he did do him. Yeah,
Aldo smashed his face in.
It smashed his
knee. Made us look bad.
Face, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Luque, this came as no surprise to me. I did think.
Oh, right. You didn't think that Chiesa... I mean, he's definitely got it in it to win, for sure, mate, that guy.
Yeah. I definitely thought this was a real risky fight because I think Chiesa can do anybody. If he gets on your back or gets you on the mat, he can do anybody. But especially in the first round. And when it hit the mat, I thought, Luque's going to get done. This is why no one listens to us, because we don't know what we're chatting about. But Luque dealt with it. There was one point where I thought, that's it. He's done.
Of course.
Where it looked like the choke was in or whatever. Yeah. And it was... And
it's not Gilmore. It's not Gilmore on your back trying to do you. It's Chiesa on your back trying to do you. Yeah. I agree with you. I thought, well, this is how this fight could go, right? Chiesa could be trying all the circling round and getting outstruck by Luque, or it's like this. Grabs hold of you as usual, drags you down, ends up on your back, smashes a choke in. And I thought, well, that's it then. It's done.
Yeah. I'll do an expression. I thought it was curtains.
Yeah.
Now,
what a great fight, though.
We really like Chiesa as well, don't we? The bloke and the fighter.
Everything, yeah, he's brilliant.
But I can't deny I was rooting or pulling for Luque because we've been, I don't know how to say, we've been saying...
I don't know, let's think of a few.
I was going to say blowing his trumpet, but that sounds
that's what I meant to say.
That's why I pulled back from it.
I was trying to think of blowing his trumpet when I said tooting his horn. So I got it.
Yeah, that was another one that popped into my head. Tooting his horn. I was like,
tooting his horn. I don't even know if I've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
On his hype train.
That sounds a little bit dirty,
Yeah, but see, we weren't on his hype train. Now you'd be on his hype train because he's hype behind him. We were talking about him when there was no hype,
Okay, so
I don't know. I don't really have a good one for it. I don't know. I didn't like blowing his trumpet either. Can't think of a good one.
We were licking his knob ages ago.
Exactly. There you go.
Now everybody else wants a lick and get lost. It's no more.
Exactly.
We were there first.
Yeah, we've already tasted it.
He's really good, and there's no more to say about it. Really, this guy. When you talk about, Leon Edwards constantly wants a title shot, and I get why. He ain't been beaten in about 300 years because he's managed to stretch this 8-fight win streak or whatever over about 2 decades, it seems. So he ain't been beaten in about 20 years. So I get why he wants a title shot, but like we said earlier, you've got to look at the manner of the performances as well as who you're beating. And Luque just goes in there and smashes teeth, and that counts for something. Sorry,
of course it does. Of course it does. It shows what the threat is like. If you're another fighter that's ready to face him and you're watching, it's like, well, who's on the list here? And it's like that guy, and this guy is real trouble, everywhere.
I'll run you through his fights. These are just his wins. His 2 recent defeats have both been decision. But let's just go through his wins. These are all UFC as well. Submission, KO, TKO, decision against Mike Perry on a split. Do you remember that? That was a good fight. TKO, KO, submission, KO, submission, technical submission.
Yeah, I mean,
all of those are his UFC fights. I'm sorry. And here we go. You ready? Performance of the night, fight of the night, fight of the night, fight of the night, performance of the night, fight of the night, performance of the night. Sorry, you can't deny it anymore. One more big win, he's getting the belt, he's getting the title shot. End of. You can even make a case for him getting the title shot now because he's.
Please tell me what's in the way. Who's in the way of the title shot? Who would you put there?
Well, the obvious thing is Leon Edwards.
Okay.
So you've got Covington obviously versus Usman next. After that, it's up for grabs. Let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd say that Leon Edwards was in pole position, but would you say that now? I don't know. Difficult one. If you ask me, what would I rather see? Usman versus Luque or Usman versus Leon Edwards? I'd rather say.
Well, look, how does it stand at the minute? Does Luque have to get through people like Masvidal before a title shot? Is that fair? Does he have to do blokes like that? Or, I mean, I don't think so. But what do you think? I mean, amazing fight, one of the best fights ever. But is that right? Should he have to do a bloke like that first, who's lost twice to the champ? Why should he have to do that?
You're basically saying, should he have to be, say, a previous title contender? So, like you're saying there, a Masvidal, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's lost to Thompson on decision before, but a Masvidal, a Thompson,
Colby,
Edwards, a Gilbert Burns.
Burns,
they're the blokes that you could argue and say he won't fight Burns. I believe they're training partners, aren't they?
He was in his corner, so yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. So that's the end of that one.
Hey, he's mates and training partners with Usman before Usman went and done a whip man.
That's right, yeah. But he did say, didn't he, that he, I think he would
have.
Yeah. Look,
should he have to go through them?
I wouldn't want to put him in against a Masvidal or a Thompson because let's say he loses to those guys. His ability to have an interesting title fight is derailed, and that shine is then given to somebody who you can't justify fighting Usman again because they've either not been on a good enough run, or in Masvidal's case, he's lost twice. So I'd keep him fresh. I'd either do a Luque Edwards, winner gets the belt title shot, or I'd just keep them both ready and waiting.
I ain't saying that Leon Edwards is going to unagree it, but you can imagine him going, for God's sake, not now, I've got to do him and all. And that is a real powers tough test, that, I tell you. That might get rid of Leon Edwards' title aspirations,
Yeah.
I don't know what the idea is. Do we go off rankings or, like you say, previous contenders? I don't see any reason why he can't just have a title shot based on resume and what he's done. I mean, he's qual. That's it. And a fresh bloke, if you like, a fresh contender, not already had fights with Usman and. I mean, no history is good sometimes, right? It's just a fresh new challenge for Usman as well, I would think.
Yeah.
He don't want to have to fight Burns again and Covington again. I know he's going to fight Covington, but he don't have to do that. Surely he'd want a new fresh piece of meat.
Yeah, you'd think that'd get your
juices flowing.
So it's only light a fire under you a bit more than just fighting Burns again. Something like that.
I would think so, yeah.
And I think Dana likes people who finish his fight. You finish fights, kid, and all that sort of stuff. He likes all that sort of stuff, doesn't he? So that goes in his favour more so than Edwards has 9 wins and 1 no contest in his last 10. It'd be harsh if he didn't get a title shot, but sorry, Luque is. You know what I mean?
It's exciting stuff.
It is. That's it. Yeah.
That's all there is to it. What an amazing fight that was. Everything was brilliant, wasn't it? The actual fight was brilliant. The reaction by both of them afterwards and the sportsmanship, if you like, afterwards. It was just an amazing fight, I thought. I loved it.
Think he has a storm out, though, before the decision was read? I think he done that version, didn't he? You know, when you're supposed to stand there with your
Did he not stand there? I do
I think
remember.
he stood there for a split second, but before the decision was actually ready, or he was already had
I
one
think
foot
he
out of the
went
cage.
to walk out speeds and then realised he hadn't thanked coaches and stuff like that. So I think I remember him spinning back round and coming back in. I can't remember whether he did stand there for the arm up or arm down in his case, or I can't remember, to be honest. But I do remember the bit you're talking about, the storm walk, the speedy walk. But it was after having a chat with Luke and cuddling him and being
He'd already done the congratulations and all that sort of stuff.
And he seemed fine.
All the stuff that matters. But I'm not sure he stayed for all the formalities. But he definitely had the ump. Understandable, right? But
of course,
definitely had the ump. But sorry, don't get in a cage with Luke if you don't want to, have a crap evening. That's the rule.
Yeah. Well, good fight. Not much else to say on that, so I can move on to Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz. Anyone could sit here and go, "Oh, who don't know about Jose Aldo?" But we were chatting about Jose Aldo more once he was so-called not in the limelight, off the hype train, lost his belt, etc. I mean, I've always liked Jose Aldo, but I know you were definitely even stronger on him on his fights post losing to McGregor, And there's something to be said about this guy, right? Just quickly, he won this fight on a decision, right? But there's something to be said about this bloke. He's fighting at 135. I couldn't imagine McGregor getting down to 135 or even 145 now, but Aldo is fighting at 135 now. Goes to show how serious he's taking it. His performances, they're always good, even when he loses. And if you ever think about, I don't want to be crap to McGregor because obviously we like him a lot and all, but if you ever think about what he's done since he was on top and beat Aldo and what Aldo's done since losing that fight, who's having the better career? You know what I mean? Who's having the more, respectable, storied career? You've got someone going out, throwing what they call them, trolleys on buses, smashing old gizzards in the face, taking boxing matches, losing fights, not having any fights. And then you've got Aldo who's just gone, I'm just going to carry on staying in there, doing my job, not worrying about whiskey. I'll worry about burgers instead. You've got this guy staying in there doing stuff. And to me, I've got a lot of time for that. I've got a lot of time for it, We've agreed this about these people, right? We know them and like them because of the job they do, which is fighting. We don't know anything else about them, not our mates or anything. And to me, that's what Aldo represents, a bloke who goes, well, my job is fight, so I'm going to carry on doing fights. Now, he ain't given up. He's soldiering on. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And this was a good fight and a good win for him. What are you saying?
I'm just going to come back to your point on you said he's had the more storied career. I'm going to say McGregor. Somebody came up with an interesting on Twitter where they said something like, since that fight, McGregor is something like 5-5 and Aldo is something like 5-4. So both of them have had a rough time of it, so to speak.
Yeah, but that's just on the win and losing thing on the fights. But the activity and the not getting involved in out of sport shenanigans, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, obviously, that Aldo wins on that front. But if you're talking about who's had the most storied career, it's obviously McGregor, right? He became the first double-weight world champion. He had the biggest, most lucrative crossover fight in, combat sports history.
Yeah.
Now, you might look back on those things.
Yeah, but I'm saying since the loss to Aldo, I'm saying since McGregor was at his height through taking the belt off Aldo, smashing him out in whatever 13 seconds, whatever it was. I'm saying since that point, which career do you have a bit more?
That's what I'm saying, McGregor.
Still, even though after that all he did was boxing and beating up old blokes in pubs.
Yeah, because he had the most lucrative and sort of like most well documented combat fight in combat sports history against Mayweather. Now, I hated that. I hated it. I hated it when it
That's
was
what I'm saying. I ain't talking about money, lucrative. I'm not talking about that.
I know, but you're saying storied, right? And
wasn't the only word I used. I said respect.
I can make a film.
Go back.
I can make. Huh?
I said respected. There was other words I used.
Yeah, but you also said storied, and if I
did say that
story,
yeah,
you did.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
you
I
said
did. Yeah,
story, yeah?
yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
but that's what I'm saying. I can make a good story out of McGregor post Aldo fight. The
Yeah,
Aldo one, I can look at it and go, as you know, I'm done by him now. He's one of my favourites, right? And he wasn't one of my favourites before, which is bizarre because I guess for a lot of people it's the other way round. So in that regard, Aldo's the best, right? But what I'm saying is if you're talking about significance, storied and all that, whether it be good or bad, McGregor, you could make a hell of a film out of what he's done since that fight. Whereas, like I
yeah,
say, with Aldo, it's more respectable for sure. You know, he hasn't been sat in the cage saying, "Your wife still slipped into my DMs and
yeah,
this
brilliant.
ain't over," and all that stuff, right? But at the same time, he's not. He's still just been a UFC fighter. He's not done anything that
Yeah, but
makes me
that's what
go.
I want from him. That's why I said I don't care about
I
clothing
appreciate
and
that, but
watches
you
and
said,
fast cars. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, but
yeah,
that's all right.
okay, right. Well, we'll move off that. I think we're kind of in agreement, even though we're having an argument
I'm
about
saying
it.
I've preferred watching what Aldo's done outside of the limelight, if you like, just getting back in there and just fighting. I preferred that to McGregor being sporadic in his fights, not fighting and coming in and getting done and all that and headlines and all that. I've preferred Aldo doing it quietly and just going, look, I'm a
That's
fighter
it,
and
yeah.
I'm just going to carry on. I've enjoyed that.
Going about his business, which is why
Yeah,
you're interested in him. Like you say, you're not interested in seeing. I'm in a new car here that can go 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, and
that's
this
it.
is my new yacht. We're not interested in that. We're interested in seeing you hit a punch bag and having a fight. And McGregor hasn't been doing that, and Aldo has been doing that. He has been doing it, but he hasn't been doing it as much as Aldo, and dare I say it, as good as Aldo. Because as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned, that guy at the moment, if he could sort out the cardio and the slight fragility element that kind of looms over him now, he looks like he can have his bell rung a bit too often. If he could sort out those aspects, he'd be the best fighter in every division. Simple as that. His
yeah,
combinations, his punches, his slipping and ripping, all that stuff. It's better than anyone else. As you know, he's nigh on impossible to take down for some reason. The
yeah,
combinations he was throwing at Munoz in that third round towards the end of it, pop, 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 and then bang, leg kick at the end. I was like, this is a movie guy. This is a guy fighting like he's in a movie. And obviously in a movie, the guy would go down, but Munoz don't because he's rock hard. But Aldo looks amazing and he looks better with age. I can't believe he got down to 135 because he looked emaciated at 145. So I don't know what they've done, I don't know what they've done. Done he eat? But I mean, he looks crap as in he looks frail and like he should be in a post-apocalyptic movie. He looks all emaciated when he fights at
yeah,
135. But his fighting is amazing. And every fight he's had, as far as I'm concerned, when both people were at 100% energy level, he's been the better fighter. It's just he's lost to some people because he hasn't got the gas tank or he's a bit more fragile and a bit more weathered than they have been because he's older, had a lot more smash ups and stuff. But when the first round starts and Aldo has a smash with any of these guys, for the first at least 3 minutes of that round, he's better than anyone in the world. End of discussion. Anyone better than Jan, better than Sterling, better than Sandhagen, better than Moraes, better than Edgar, better than all of them for the first 3 minutes.
For a lot of those examples you've given, we've had proof, including Peter Yan, as good as that guy is, including him. So you're not just pulling stuff out. These are real things. And I couldn't agree more. This guy he's different gravy. He fights like he should fight, as in someone who has been doing it for ages and hasn't stopped training and hasn't stopped trying to get better or sharpen up the things that he's good at. I say he's different level. He really is. But I do agree with the cardio thing. I don't know what that issue is. It could just be genetics. Towards the last quarter of that third round, he sort of stayed away, backed away from it a bit and went, look, I think I've done this. So when I know there's 20, 30 seconds left, I'll do some more to make sure I seal the deal. But I'm running out of energy. He seemed fine in the after-fight interview and everything. But yeah, he's been fighting 3-round fights. So there's something to be said for that. I don't know what it'd be like fighting 5-rounders and whatnot if he does end up back there.
It weren't great even when he was the belt holder, right? He was on that invincible run, the fifth round against Hominick and stuff like that. And there was a lot of fights where you felt like he could have won inside the distance and he didn't, probably because he didn't put his foot down on the accelerator because he had one eye on the clock. So he's always kind of had that slight element to him, and he's obviously older now. If we talk about those Max Holloway fights, again, at full power, I think Aldo was better than Holloway. It's just Holloway can do that all night long, and Aldo can do it for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, he just gets worn down, doesn't he? That's the problem. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, and if you're going to beat Aldo, that's what you need to do. I think you need to wear him down. You need to go through the fire, so to speak. But he's brilliant. Is the truth. I don't think he'll ever win the belt because I just think there's enough guys ahead of him who've got the ability to take him into deep water and beat him. Unfortunately, skill for skill, he's arguably one of the best. So he's very boxing heavy sort of training and stuff like that now, and it kind of shows. I think I've seen him sparring. I think was it Mikey Garcia or something? I can't remember. Anyway, some famous world champion boxer. I saw him sparring him. He doesn't throw many leg kicks anymore, which used to be his real bread and butter. Or on the jabs and the combinations, slipping punches and stuff like that. He's mint.
So of course, that stuff is better. That stuff is way harder to master than a leg kick. Is the complaint I have about calf kicks, right? That even a wrestler who has zero flexibility, who can't throw kicks, can now throw kicks that are devastating to this lower area. The things that Aldo is mastering or getting better at, he can throw leg kicks still like he could when he could throw them day one, right? But this stuff that he's concentrating on is way much more difficult to master and way less prominent with other fighters in the UFC. So it's a good thing to concentrate on. Anyone can, not with the same devastation as him, or they mentioned it in the broadcast, and I agree, Barboza. There are people that, of course, are way better at kicking than other people. But if we're talking about a basic low calf kick or even a thigh kick, most people can not have to train that much and they can throw them, right? But this stuff that he's doing, the boxing stuff he's doing, most people, as you rightly so mentioned before, in the UFC, ain't doing that. It's not what they're mastering. And he's a cut above those people in that aspect. And he's got the kicking if he needs it. And apparently he's got the jiu-jitsu if he needs it. We never see it, but he's apparently got that and all, But I think he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Max Holloway obviously looked great in his last time out and stuff like that. But if you could put Max Holloway's chin and cardio into Jose Aldo, I think you've pretty much got the complete fighter there. Honestly, they're both amazing, those blokes.
Definitely. Brilliant. Brilliant. Look, amazing fight. Aldo, amazing fighter. We weren't arguing about the storied. I asked a question. I used a couple of words, storied and respectful, and you answered them. I don't disagree with what you said on the word storied. I don't. You're right. Storied, yeah. I've told you, I've watched the Jose Aldo film and it was crap. Of course I've enjoyed McGregor's, right? The spectacle. Of course I have. Whenever he gets involved in it, it's better. But as regards to, the respectful side of the sport and what I want from these people is them getting in and fighting, it's Aldo all the way, But amazing fight. I do like that Pedro Munoz as well. He's good, isn't he?
Honestly, if someone asked me at the start of the fight, I would have said who I thought was going to win. I would have said Munoz because I thought he had this style to do what we said. You're not going to compete with Aldo on a skill level. You have to drag him into deep water. You have to make him use his energy. You have to get involved in a little bit of a brawl, catch him, put him on wobbly legs, really, clinch game maybe, use, suck the energy out of him a bit. You need to do that kind of stuff because you're not going to stand at range and pick him off. And I thought Munoz, I don't think I've ever seen the guy rocked. No. It just seems to be like a lump of steel or something. So I thought he was going to have the aggressiveness and the chin and the durability and the gas tank to wear Aldo down. I thought he might catch up to Aldo in late in the third round, but he didn't because Aldo just pieced him up whenever he got anywhere near, and so he just couldn't handle him. And by the end of the third round, he was, like you say, because he could empty the gas tank a bit more. He was throwing those combinations and stuff. Just picking him off easy. Munoz is really good. He's a guy who's probably not going to get you that much fanfare, that much credibility, and he's just going to be a rock hard fight. There's just better fights out there to have with people who are going to give you less grief and give you more clout.
Yeah,
because they've just got a bigger name or bigger reputation. So yeah, he's a tough guy who's best off avoided. There you go. There's a little bit of advice from me for all you managers out there, don't accept fights with Pedro Munoz. It's not worth it.
Exactly, right? And Aldo just has supposedly on the tail end of his career, and he done him. After an amazing fight like that, we're going to get on to the main event. Now, Aldo used to be these main events. I think he was undefeated or something for like 10 years or something silly like that at one point. He used to be these main events, and had this been the main event, we'd have been going, what a great card, what a great main event. Instead, we've got Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast, versus Ciryl Gane. Yeah, not very good. But more not very good by Derrick Lewis, really. I mean, I don't suppose I was expecting it to be amazing. We've liked Lewis for ages because he's obviously this guy who you think's not that great, but then just wins, and that's interesting and exciting in itself. But I haven't really liked this fight much.
No, but this to me was pretty obvious. Let's be honest, right? We know that Derrick Lewis, let's be honest, his KO power has got him off the hook a few times. It's won him a few fights where he's been on, let's be honest, probably going to lose them. And they've also not just saved him in that regard, but they've saved him in the regard that he's had some absolute stinkers of fights that people would be going, this guy's horrible to watch. But because he's banged them out cold towards the end or whenever, people forget the previous. It's like when everyone goes, Wonderboy Thompson versus Woodley was a great fight. It's like, no, it was dog shit for about 23 minutes. It was just like 2 minutes of excitement in, I think it was round 4, that cloud your judgment and make you forget what happened in the first 3 rounds, which was basically nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
And so Lewis has that kind of element to him that his power's got him off the hook. But it looked like he had no clue how to close the distance. Well, let's be honest, he doesn't. He doesn't close the distance. And this Ciryl Gane fights in a way where he's very light-footed. He's on his toes. He can spring in and out of range, easy. He won't get many easier nights' work than this. Derrick Lewis is way too flat-footed and way too slow to close the distance quick enough to catch Ciryl Gane. And that's all that happened. And I think it was pretty obvious. The fight became boring because unlike other Derrick Lewis fights where you feel like he's always got that puncher's chance, I looked at this and went, he ain't going to be able to land on this guy because he's too flat-footed. He's too plodding around the cage. And Ciryl Gane's up on his toes, bobbing backwards and forwards. So even if Derrick Lewis does try and launch an attack, Ciryl Gane's just going to spring out of the way.
You're just going to move out of the way, yeah. Very, very good point there to do with closing the distance. Because in this fight, Ciryl Gane, he doesn't need to close the distance. So you say he's not playing that game. But say Curtis Blades, he's trying to close the distance, which means Derrick Lewis don't have to do it. He waited for Curtis Blades to close the distance, right? Go for a takedown and uppercutted him in the face. But you're absolutely right. Ciryl Gane's like, well, I don't need to close no distance. I'm faster, with my strikes or whatever, so I can get a few in and then I can just move out of the way or whatnot. And this guy ain't going to chase me down. He don't want to wrestle. He don't want to drag me to the ground anyway, so I don't have to worry about that. And he's going to want to close the distance so he can reach me with his hands or his feet, whatever. I'm just going to make sure he don't. Good point. Yeah.
To me, it was, we've discussed it in other fights as well. If you're the guy that needs to dictate the range, like I think Derrick Lewis was in this fight, the last thing you want to be doing is walking around the perimeter with your back to the cage, because you can't then dictate the distance. You surrender it to the other person. If the other person wants to attack, they'll close the distance. If they don't, they've got the whole octagon behind them to retreat into. But when you have got your back up against the cage, you're at the mercy of their distance because you haven't got anywhere to back up to. Yeah, you've got nowhere to go. And he should have been trying to push Ciryl Gane back. And I'm not saying he didn't try, let's be honest. But he seemed to have no idea about how to do it. And honestly, I don't think it's a case of he didn't have an idea about how to do it. I don't think he had the tools to do it. He doesn't have footwork. He doesn't have the ability to move in behind a jab or anything like that. Let's be honest, right? He's someone who just swings big lumps of meat at your face, and if one of them lands, you go out cold. That's all he is. Yeah. If you come up against a bit more of a refined, skilled striker who knows how to move in and out of range and dictate range and throw counter punches, you're going to get hiding, and that's what he got. He just got.
That's how it should be.
It is how it should be. Yeah.
It isn't always like that. Yeah, but in this case, it's how it should be, and it's how it was. Yeah.
How do you see Gunn versus Ngannou?
That's the next obvious thing, right? Because it's an interim belt and you need to, what they call it, unify the belts, right?
That's right.
How do I see that fight? Well, I don't think Ngannou's that good.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think he's...
speaking.
Yeah, of course I know he's good. But I'm just saying that the overall skill set, even the thing that he's supposedly the best at, remember he's the heavyweight champ, respect and all that business, but the thing he's the best at, he's striking, it looks a bit ropey. That's the truth of it. Again, he's another bloke who's got massive power and he only needs that to win, like Derrick Lewis. The difference between him and Derrick Lewis, he's a lot lighter on his feet. He's way faster. He's taller, he's rangier. He's got way better attributes than Derrick Lewis has, which means he doesn't have to just rely on that. He's got some better stuff and all. But overall, some of his striking with his neck right up in the air and no guard at all by his face, he's kind of throwing both fists almost at exactly the same time. I think he's going to get done.
I agree. I think Gunn will just spring in and out of range. And if Ngannou tries to close the distance in an uneducated way, let's say, so just swinging fists like he did against Rosenstruik, he won't get away with that against Gunn. I think he'll get picked off on the way in and he'll end up flat on his face, or he'll get pinged hard enough that it will make him hesitant to blitz forward, and it will just be a slightly more competitive version of the Derrick Lewis fight where he's just hoping to catch him at some point or another. Let's be honest, skill set wise, who's more refined? I definitely think the advantage lies with Gunn. Obviously, the power is the big equalizer, right? And if Ngannou lands clean, then all that refinery goes out the window.
Of course.
If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would go for Gunn. But this was, I don't want to say it was a horrible performance from Lewis because, like I say, I don't think he had the skills to do what needed to be done.
Done his best, didn't he? He tried. It's not like he didn't want to win or anything. Yeah.
But it was a horrible performance. He looked completely out of his depth against
He
this
looked
guy.
bad, yeah. Even the finish on all fours turtled up. It was
It was almost sort of like, I've had enough of this, forget it.
I got no answer for this. What's the point? What's the point of seeing this through? What's the point of getting up from this? Why? What's going to change?
Well, he landed 16 strikes in the fight. 2 on the leg, 6 to the body, and 8 to the head. Let's just take all 16. The end came at the end of round 3. So he had 15 minutes. He basically landed a strike a minute on average.
Yeah.
It ain't great. I mean, let's be honest. He didn't throw that many more. He only threw 37. So he had a reasonable success rate.
Yeah, he threw them when he thought they were going to get in at least.
Yeah, 16 to 37. But even if you look at it like that, he basically threw 12 punches a round, which is 2 punches a minute.
Even that is more evidence that he don't do any range management, don't throw out any jabs to see or any strikes to see how the other person's going to react. He's not doing anything until he thinks, I only need to club him with this one thing, and he's done anyway. There you go, now. And if it don't work, as you've rightly shown me, the output is nothing because he only outputted when he felt it was going to do something. And there's something to be said for that, right? You don't want to waste his energy and all that, but you're having a fight with a human who's different to all the other humans you fought. They're not all the same thing in front of you. And sometimes you just need to, play it out and see what's going to happen. And he didn't. I guess he fought like he always does. And this time it didn't work, innit? That's it.
Yeah, look, that power and that style of just throwing one Hail Mary has built him a hell of a successful career.
In 5-round main events, he's been in a title fight, now in an interim title fight. It's two rights giving him a good career.
He's beat the current champ. He's beaten Ngannou on, one of the
That's right.
stinkiest fights in UFC history, but he holds a win over Ngannou and stuff like that. So yeah, he's had a hell of a career for a guy who just swings a couple of big lumps of meat around. But it weren't great. It weren't great. The fight was boring. The performance weren't great, but it is what it is.
That's it. I think what we were saying about rushing in, like Ngannou rushing in, I see it like when what's his name?
Badoom ran into Miocic.
Exactly. How you knew that, I don't know, but yeah, exactly that. Someone running in and the other guy taking a shorter route to the target and going, okay, I'll just take that then, even though we're going backwards or whatever. So yeah, exactly that. It don't always work out that way, right? Because Ngannou blasted out Miocic, right? But we said in that fight, we could see that Miocic easily could have won that fight. He panicked, rushed.
Yeah,
He could have won.
That's right. He rushed in. Yeah, he rushed in when he should have. The first round was almost perfect for him. He had a rocky first round, which sounds stupid that that's perfect for him, but it meant that Ngannou probably used more energy than he wanted to use. He kind of burnt him out. Goes back to what we were saying about Aldo as well in the previous fight. It took away a lot of his power and his danger.
Yeah.
And then he get handed it all back by basically just running in with his hands down. And I think if it just stayed a bit more composed in that second round, maybe clinched a bit more, done a bit more of the grubby sort of work that drains people's gas tank, rounds 3, 4, and 5, he could have relied on double legs, getting him to the mat and doing what he did in the first fight. But
Correct.
like we said, he ran in with his hands down, got punished.
But there you go. Well, that's the end of it then. That's it. UFC 265, main card, chats, done and dusted. Thanks for the chat. I enjoyed it as usual. It's fabulous.
Exactly.
All right. See you later.
Mm.
These endings.